Okay, this is Python classes. It says pick up where I want to left off. Now I won't start at beginning. Okay, I'm not going to get much into the details of the syntax because we can take a look at the example for that. By the way, that is actually a double underscore before and after that. That's kind of good to know, right? Because you can't necessarily tell a double underscore but from a single underscore. Okay, start off using the class keyword, the name of the class, followed by a colon. We'll see that because I believe we'll define something called person. Okay, you need to do your indentation. Has anybody run into problems with indentations when you were doing your code that it fussed at you? Yes. 2 people raised their hand. The other ones just don't want to admit it probably. I still have it, by the way. It's kind of like I got a list of rookie mistakes. The only problem is you're never too old to make a rookie mistake. The one that I've had the most problem with, though, this is a simple change. We shouldn't have to test it. Okay, every class in Python, it has some built-in attributes. You also have inheritance in Python where you can have one class inherit from another, so it gets all the methods and it gets all of the attributes of it. Okay, instance variables are instance-specific pieces of data, while class variables are shared and common among all instances of the class. For example, you may have something with a serial number on it, like string line trimmers. Well, you'll have a field that says ID number, says the serial number. That will be unique for each instance, each string line trimmer. Well, you'll have a class level instance that says the highest ID number, because when you make a new one, you got to increment that by 1. That's one instance where you want to share that among all the instances of a class. Okay, use operators to call methods. Okay, and it says a method is a function defined as part of the implementation of a class. That's really Python language. They don't differentiate between procedures and subroutines and functions. They call them all functions. Okay, you define a method with a def keyword. We'll show that now. The first thing that you pass to any method is the self, because you got to pass the function of reference to the object itself. Apparently, it doesn't do that automatically. Okay, method overloading. In Python, there is no method overloading. Have you dealt with method overloading before? What is method overloading? Do you remember?
When it has the same name and different parameters passed into it.
Yes, and what happens is you create something based on the information you have. Like I could have in C++ or things like that. I can have a create method for a person that if I just created it, just gives me a generic person that they're 5'6" and they're X number of pounds and all that. But I can pass in all the information about color of eyes and all that, and then you can do it specifically. Python, you can't do that. Okay, destruction of instance objects. I haven't had much problem with these destroying themselves. Now, do you have a feel in a language when you might want to take a look at garbage collection? What kind of programming might require that? Okay, they kind of hint.
Passwords maybe?
Yeah, password, you want to make sure that you explicitly say what to do with those. How about this? How about memory leaks? Has anybody run into that? I spent a day one time trying to figure that out one time because I had something that went out and it enumerated all the files on all of the computers on our network. And what happened was I kept on having a malfunction and it crashed. Well, my computer ran slower and slower, so it finally stopped. And I did the IT immediate action drill of rebooted the computer and went and got a cup of coffee. When I went back, everything was working fine. What happens every time it stopped, it did not release all the memory, and it got to where it didn't have any memory left. Okay, encapsulation issues for classes. Okay, in Perl and Python, you ever heard the expression that fences aren't there to keep out bad guys, they're there to keep good guys honest?
Locks, yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Python encapsulation is not there to keep somebody out from doing something they're not supposed to. It's for keeping people that don't intend to do that, keep them straight. Okay, class variables, we kind of talked about those things that's shared about the class. Okay, and what happens with private data and methods, they should not be accessible outside. If something's private, it should be private, right? But what they do is they have a certain schema or method to navbangle to say, if you have to call this, don't call it this, call it this and this. And it says it has at least two leading underscores and one trailing underscore. But what happens is it puts the class in front of the name. Well, if you happen to know that, you can call it directly, which kind of defeats the purpose. But this is scripting. We don't need it to be strongly typed, right? Okay, operator overloading, that's nice, but quite frankly, that's not what we're going to be using. Okay, here's some reading assignments, some good additional information.